Sure. Thank you so much for having me on today. So my career path really starts as a K-12 educator. So I grew up here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I really thought I was going to be Oprah. I mean, I thought communications. I thought I was going to do something in radio, and I went to school, and I ended up deciding that I didn't really enjoy it as much as I thought I would. And so my roots are really in education, and so I ended up working on my master's degree in education and business and had the opportunity to take a programming class, which I had never done before. And was really proud of myself because I ended up being able to solve the problem or turn the light bulb on, as I say. And that has sort of been the beginning of my career. So I started teaching in Apex, North Carolina, and taught in the IT Academy at Apex High School, which was a part of the National Academy Foundation, which is a national foundation to help propel students in the STEM careers. And then I moved back home here to Charlotte, and I taught at Philip O'Berry. And so that is where I ended up beginning to be introduced to SAS. I was working on my doctorate at the time, and SAS was a part of our analysis. And so from that, I was like, oh my gosh, I actually really enjoy this. It's pretty cool, you know, and I can understand the process that SAS was providing as far as the procedural statements were very simple to understand, and I could comprehend them easily. And I say that because for me, technology is not something that came natural. I'm not a technology native. I have grown to be able to understand it. So I started teaching SAS to high school students in 2008. And that's kind of how I've ended up where I am now. I've just ended up being able to apply what I understand as my everyday life to data analysis. So my book is called A Recipe for Success Using SAS University Edition, How to Plan Your First Analytics Project. So the premise of the book is to walk you through how to use SAS, basically introduces you to SAS University Edition if you've never used it before, and then walks you through some basic proc steps that will allow you to take data that you have collected or something that's important to you. So a good example might be, I'm doing quite a bit of work with the Girl Scouts, and we would like to know how many boxes of cookies the Girl Scouts are selling or how an individual is selling. So we're collecting data, we will be collecting it a little bit, but we're collecting data on how many boxes of cookies each person sells, and we'll be putting that into SAS to run some analysis. But the book walks you through some examples of different ideas or data that's in your everyday life that you might be able to use for analysis to get you introduced to the concept, and then walks you through the procedures and how to apply it. And you can find my book on Amazon or on SAS. The first thing I would say is you need to know your data. Before you can even start doing any kind of analysis within SAS, you need to understand the data and what it is that you are trying to solve. And I'm a big proponent of understanding what the data is and then writing an algorithm or the steps that you want to take in order to solve the problem. So what is the true question you're trying to answer? What does the data look like? And how can you begin to put that together to start your analysis? Because in my opinion, the analysis part is actually the easiest part. The coding part, you can learn that very easily, the syntax, but understanding and comprehending what you're trying to solve is more important. So top things to be a top SAS programmer: one is understand your data. Two, understand the basic analysis. So for instance, being able to go through and sort your data, bring it out, highlight certain variables if you need to, or drop certain variables if you need to. And then third is to continue your education. So to be a top SAS programmer, you have to continuously educate yourself. So take part in the SAS free tutorials they offer, read up on their white papers, stay involved in the data analysis community. Okay, so this is going to sound a little bizarre, but I actually use the by group processing procedure, which is really not your most complex. But I get a lot of data that I have to really cipher through to figure out, like I have multiple records, or I have, well, multiple record is really what it is. And so being able to go through and sort it and bring it and group it and export it is really important, because it helps me be able to solve whatever the problem that I'm trying to solve much easier, because I'm able to group my information. So it's not particularly a very complex one, but it's one of my favorites. Oh, and
Okay.
Proc Freak. I mean, I love a good Proc Freak. I mean, who doesn't? I think this is the way I view it. And the reason why I even wrote my book was we can get overwhelmed by the idea of analysis and data and what does it all look like. And I think what you really have to encompass or think about in your everyday life is how am I personally using data every day, and start small. So try not to be overwhelmed by a big problem, but start with smaller problems and work your way up to solve the bigger concept. So for me, I think it's finding something that's relative to you. So for instance, if you work in the community and you just want to know some basic answers to how many cans of food you're collecting for your food drive, that's where I would start. And use what you already know. If you already know a certain data analysis tool like Excel, use it, and then grow your skill set to SAS or another option that may be out there. But understanding what's relative to you will help you begin to embrace this wide world of data, and then I think would perk your interest to start doing more. Thank you for the opportunity.